You are listening to The Breakfast Show here on Faith FM. And right now we have come into a time of interview with Bruna Tawake from Asian Aid. Bruna, are you there with us?
I am. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. We are stoked to hear from you and excited to hear about the work that Asian Aid has doing, particularly in the areas of India, Nepal, Bangladesh. What have you guys been working on and cooking up there?
Thanks for having me this morning. Look, at Asian Aid, we're really privileged because we believe every child matters immensely to God. Mm-hmm. Made in His image, each one loved, gifted, unique. Children collectively are our most important treasure. And because we believe when a child is healthy, they can play, learn, and grow. When a child is educated, they develop skills and gain knowledge to transform their lives, if you like. And when a child support networks, parents, caregivers, teachers, communities have the knowledge and means to nurture their children, every child can thrive. So I guess part of what we do is help children gain quality education. But we also focus on health and livelihood. So what is it that might prevent children from making the most of the education opportunities? What health issues might be there? What health barriers? And how do we empower their parents, really, to look after them to the best of their ability?
Yeah, and of course I can imagine in the third world as well, where you guys operate, they would be more susceptible to these health challenges because of, lack of technology and whatnot, creating those barriers.
Oh, absolutely. Access to healthcare and free health education is really challenging in the countries we work in, whether it is India, Bangladesh, Nepal, or Cambodia. Let me just describe a little bit, if you like, how challenging access to healthcare might be in Nepal, for example.
Yeah.
So I'll paint a bit of a visual picture, if you like, about access to Nepal. 80% of Nepalis live in remote rural communities. And in the remote hills and valleys of Nepal, roads are tough. Heavy rain can turn life upside down in an instant. Water triggers floods, landscapes, tears through roads, bridges, homes, cutting off entire communities from the outside world. So reaching these remote villages in these conditions is a race against elements. But even in everyday life, reaching these communities, there is no health clinics. It's not, some Nepalis can travel up to 100 kilometers to get medical help.
Wow.
So I know, we can't imagine in the settings we're in how challenging it is to actually see a doctor or a specialist. So there's heavy reliance on do it at home sort of remedies, and some of those practices are unsafe. So what we do is, we might set up a mobile health camp. So our medical teams travel into these remote communities. And what happens is that oftentimes Asian Aid supported schools, the campus of that school turns into a health clinic for a day or two or longer.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the home remedies there. I remember reading a book. This title is escaping me, but it's about a girl who lives in the jungles of, I think it's Malaysia, and her little baby brother is sick, and the local, witch doctor is like, hey, if he eats this caterpillar, says to the family, if he eats a caterpillar, he'll get better. And it was a poisonous caterpillar, and the kid died, and some of this stuff can happen in these really rural communities. So what is Asian Aid doing to you've given us some insight here, using the schools as a health clinic. Is this the main way that you're trying to tackle, health education and help people in these positions?
Mobile health camps definitely are one of the ways of tackling, and they are very effective because in some communities and in some school communities, this is the first time often that the children, teachers, parents, the local community ever sees a doctor. Wow. So, some of the children, like just the other day, our team reached this school between Nepal and India to run a school health camp. It was a government school, about 1,500 students enrolled, about 800 that came regularly. They were describing space at the school being really tight, tiny classrooms with brick and mud walls and tin roofs. And the little year one kids, 120 of them, shared a single teacher, with many were sitting outside in corridors and courtyard. And most of the children had never had a health check. So the team found many malnourished with ear infections, tooth decay, untreated eye conditions. Some had vision that was so poor that it could lead to permanent sight loss if left untreated any longer. And you can imagine our teams then are doing more than diagnosis issues. They're also referring, they're taking kids and families to the nearest clinic for treatment. They might hand out medication. They certainly deal with prescription glasses and make sure that the kids have that. On top of that, there is also education around oral care and nutrition and other bits and pieces. So the impact of these camps are really positive. And it takes weeks to plan them, but that's not the point of it. The point is that they're getting into some really remote rural communities for which healthcare is just inaccessible without these mobile health camps.
That's awesome. So setting up in these various schools and helping these kids, like, it's got to be a massive help to them because, I think to me, this sounds better than, I think a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, but it's more than just clothes. It's more than even just food. We're talking about here helping them heal these conditions that might, inhibit them from growing for the rest of their life. And
and I think to us, another thing that we do in Asian Aid supported schools, so outside of these mobile health camps where people from the community are coming as well, so this is not just benefiting the kids, this is benefiting their parents and community. We also started a midday meal, like school lunch, if you like. Sounds so simple, right? School lunch, what difference would it make? But the impact has been profound because it's had, imagine learning on an empty stomach. It's impossible to focus, right?
Dude, being on an empty stomach is like one of my biggest displeasures in life.
Yes.
Doing anything on an empty stomach. So I hear. I'm right there.
Well, look, I'm right there with you. The empty stomach, grumbling stomach when you're a child trying to learn, it's preventing you from making the most of your education. So a simple thing like providing a free midday meal in our schools, in Asian Aid supported schools, has made such a difference not only to the academic performance of the kids, but attendance levels. Wow. Because for many of the children that come to Asian Aid supported schools, this is probably the most sustainable, reliable meal they have in any given day. So just the other day, our team was reporting from Bangladesh, and they were talking about this school that had about 67 kids in there, and this little 6-year-old that had started kindergarten, but the attendance wasn't so great until the midday meal program started. And all of a sudden, she's coming on a regular basis. It's more than I'm coming to school for the love of learning. I'm coming to school for the warm, nutritious meal I'm also receiving. And this community, most of the families were from low-income families. Were from low-income families who often couldn't afford to feed them. And a midday meal, typically a balanced mix of rice and lentils and vegetables and fruit, supports the overall well-being of the kids. A small thing in our thinking, but the impact it makes is incredible.
Yeah, and meals as well. Set them up for the future too. I'm just thinking there are if you're going hungry regularly and often during your prime phases of growth as a child, that can stunt growth, that can stunt like physical growth, it can stunt physical growth. Also, as you were describing, it impacts their education as well. So this is fantastic that they're able to receive these resources. Now, is these kinds of things being replicated in India and Bangladesh as well?
Yeah, across these kind of things are available across most of the programs that we run in various countries. Nepal in particular has got a lot more to do in terms of mobile health camps just because of the nature of Nepal with the difficulty of terrain and also the issue of women's health, which is really problematic in Nepal with uterine prolapse and other reproductive health challenges that Nepal faces. But the midday meal is across all of our programs and healthcare. Outside of these two examples, when we think health, we also think holistic. A sports program.
Sure.
We run sports program in our schools. I mean, active kids are healthy kids, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, sports programs do more than just keep kids fit and healthy. They also kids learn social and leadership skills through sports. And we know research says that children that are involved in sport are less likely to engage in risky behavior. So, our collective sports program, especially aimed at girls, because in these countries that Asian Aid works in, girls are even more disadvantaged, if you like, than the rest of the vulnerable children that we work with. So to have girl-specific sport teams and to empower girls to develop their leadership skill and their team capabilities and skills in this way is particularly important.
Absolutely. And this sounds awesome. Like these kinds of programs for these kids. And I mean, I can think back to my childhood and all of these things were taken for granted. Oh, you go to a school that's got a tuck shop and a sports program and all these kinds of things. Like I was actually pretty fortunate to go to a school that we, in year 7 and 8, you do sports every single day. And that's kind of a part of their curriculum and whatnot, that, hey, every day should start with physical activity so that your mind can be in the best place to learn afterwards. And man, what sounds amazing, what I'm hearing here is that we're giving children that opportunity all over the world, even those who are in situations that would never receive that without the help of intervention. I'd love to ask as well, because Asian Aid is a Christian organization.
Yes.
And is there something going on in that area of reaching these young people? I know the focus is to help them in their disadvantaged state. But is there anything that you guys are doing in the area of spirituality?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a number of the Asian Aid supported schools are Christian schools. And I just need to prefix that by saying in some of the countries we work in, Christianity, overt Christianity is challenging. I want to say implement is challenging to actually have front of mind all the time. But in our Asian Aid supported schools, they are Christian schools. So as we can, it's got the flow of a regular Christian school in Australia, so that the children might start their day with a worship and a prayer. And they learn about, some of the schools are also connected with other programs, like I will mention a program that is called Pathfinders, where children learn about life skills, but within a Christian setting. That is not true for every school that is Asian Aid supported, depending on the country context that we work in. But at Asian Aid, we also do our best to partner with in-country partners that also share our Christian philosophy. So we partner with Christian partners as well, who understand the motivation, if you like, behind this. We are there, our supporters are there to champion the God-given potential of every child. Absolutely. So the motivation is very much within that Christian context. And it's interesting because as a Christian organization, the other side that we don't often talk about is the fact that as a charity, we provide an opportunity for our own supporters, thousands of them, to live out their faith in service to other people. So it's both ways. It's providing an avenue for our supporters in Australia and New Zealand, around the world, to be the hands and feet of Jesus, while providing children at a stage and phase of life where they're the most open, if you like, to possibilities around Christianity and Jesus, to learn about him.
Absolutely. Hey, we've got about 30 seconds left. How can people support Asian Aid?
Look, I would love it if people would check us out online, and if they were touched to make a donation, then that is fine. It's as simple as $10 for a school lunch for one child for a week. Or it's a little bit more expensive, as say $450 for a mobile health clinic. that's beside the point. But just giving financially is not the only thing. Just pray for us, for the program, for the kids that we support, for the partners that we work with. Sometimes sharing about us is just as helpful as donating to us. So by no means would love people to check out Asian Aid. And if championing the God-given potential of a child is what touches them as well, then we would love to partner.
Absolutely.
The more the merrier.
Amazing. asianaid.org.au is where you can find them. Bruna, thank you so much for joining us here on The Breakfast Show and giving us some insight into the amazing work Asian Aid is doing.
You're listening to The Breakfast Show podcast on Faith FM. Positively different.
Hey, Producer Joel,